Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you so much for joining me today. The purpose of this channel is to keep you updated on what could possibly go wrong around you, to help you be aware and alert and see those red flags when possible. Truth is, no matter what and how safe we try to be, something can still go wrong. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the recent tragedy finding of Orsolya Gaal. Young lady taken way too soon in this world was found in a hockey duffel bag less than a mile away from her home. Don't go anywhere because we're going to be diving deep into what we know right now. Be back in 10 seconds. Welcome back, my friends. Today we're diving deep into the tragic case of Orsolya Gaal. She was recently found in a park in a duffel bag. It was not a pretty sight. And we're going to dive into that. But we're going to be talking about the tragic details surrounding this mom of two. This is an ongoing investigation, so little by little we will continue to find out more. But police officials are investigating the killing of Orsolya Gaal. And specifics to this shocking crime continue to come out. But who was Orsolya Gaal? Orsolya Gaal was from Queens, New York, and she shared 2 boys with her husband, Howard Klein. On April 16, 2022, the New York mom's body was found stuffed in a hockey duffel bag less than a mile from her home. And the first person that was questioned after her body was found was her son, because they found her body in a blood-soaked duffel bag and they wanted answers right away. So the only person that was still in that home when they found that there was blood that was trailing from the duffel bag back to the home was the 13-year-old son. So of course that's going to be the first person they questioned, just to question. So he was questioned and released that same day. This was in a usually quiet, upscale Queens neighborhood, and all the residents around there are heartbroken and they're left shaken because they want answers. Orsolya Gaal, she was only 51 years old. Rest in peace, Orsolya Gaal. And she was found inside this duffel bag just after 8 a.m. And they found a trail of blood leading back to her Juno Street home. According to neighbors, they did say they saw police take the 13-year-old son away in handcuffs. Again, he was the only person in the home when they saw that this led back there. So I get that. They want to get things in order right away. 13 years old, I feel bad that he had to experience that, especially if they told him right then and there what happened to his mother. But the neighbors did say that they saw Gaal's younger son was seen being taken away in handcuffs shortly after her body was found. And police sources did say that they did bring a teenager in that was found in the home. His father was reportedly on his way to the station as well, but at the time of the crime, he was not in New York City, because he even told the Post he was in the middle of a terrible experience. And he even tweeted about being on a trip with his older son, who is 17 years old, and posted to social media that they were in Portland, Oregon. And this was when he tweeted this was about 1:36 in the morning on Friday. He said, "My son Leo is safe. Thank God my son is safe." And he even said that his family's lives are at stake. And we'll dive into that as well. When he was asked about his son being questioned by the police, he didn't reply to that. He just said, "There are concerns about our safety. our lives are at risk. But he did not elaborate on what that meant. And we'll dive into what that meant as well. But this case is still being investigated. And it has been noted that there are cameras along the route from the Juno Street home to the area where the body was found. This camera did show whether it's an adult or a child, and it did show that it looked more like an adult than a child that was dragging this duffel bag. Glenn Van Nostrand, he stumbled upon this grisly scene while he was walking his 2 dogs through nearby Forest Park where she was found. He said at first he thought the wheeled Bauer hockey duffel bag had simply been discarded. He thought it just had been left there. But his 2 Rhodesian Ridgebacks, Philip and Iris, there is their names, they got so agitated as they got close to it that he decided to look inside. And he said they are scent hounds. They see the world through their noses. So when they were dragging him to that bag, he knew he probably should pay attention. And when he opened the bag, he saw a foot and then a hip still attached. He said, but to me, it looked a mannequin. It didn't look very fleshy. It was more like a crash test dummy. I thought it was maybe some equipment being used for something. I didn't think anything of it. Then he said he saw black ankle-length jeans, a belt, and a woman's waist. He didn't see the blood on the other side of the bag until after he opened it. That's what he said. And he said that the body was in a fetal position, and he said that the bag had wheels on it. He said, I thought, oh my goodness, and he called police at 8:05 and said there's a body in the bag. And he said once detectives arrived, he headed home, dropped off his dogs, headed to the precinct to give a full report of what he stumbled upon. He said that, he was just trying to walk his dog, and his dog had other ideas. He said, they kept pulling me. The dogs led him to a spot about 100 yards from where the body in the bag was found on Metropolitan Avenue near Jackie Robinson Parkway, where patches of apparently fresh blood were found. And he added, some of the cops followed me and the dogs to it. And sources did confirm that this duffel bag had been leaking blood and that authorities were investigating a blood trail in that area that led to Juno Street home. And one of the neighbors, Nicola Blankson, she said that the family had lived at that home about 9 years, and she did recall the mother. She says she was out there living her life and making sure her kids were well looked after like any mother would. This is the last thing I'd expect to wake up to in the morning. To wake up to this is just devastating. Another neighbor had described Gaal as a stay-at-home mom. She spent a lot of time with the kids. Now the neighbors are frightened. One resident said, it's freaky. As a woman, it's scary. You listen to true crime stuff and you don't want to see it in real life, especially in your neighborhood. She lived in the Forest Hills area of Queens, and an autopsy showed that she was stabbed close to 60 times to her neck, torso, and left arm. There were punctured wounds that were discovered on her carotid artery and trachea. She was also discovered with knife wounds inside her fingers and on the palms of her hands, telling me that those are defensive wounds. According to a source, it does not immediately appear that she suffered any sexual trauma. There are no suspects. There's no persons of interest just yet. This is still very ongoing. Her husband, Howard Klein, he was reportedly in Portland with their 17-year-old son on a college hunt at the time of the murder. And he received an ominous text from the killer threatening, your whole family is necks. And that's why he said that their lives are at stake because of this text message that he had received. And that's why he was saying that there are concerns about our safety. Our lives are at risk because of this text message. The thing about this is that they actually have video of the figure dragging the bag. And this Forest Hills mom, Orsolya Gaal, rest in peace Orsolya, who was found dead, and her few hours before this happened, video captures her enjoying her final hours. Of course, she didn't know it was going to be her final hours, but she was just in her yard, just puttering around, just messing around, not doing anything, just enjoying her night out. And this was before the video caught a mysterious figure lugging her makeshift casket down the street. And now cops are trying to piece together what happened to Orsolya Gaal. How did she go from a well-to-do, seemingly typical stay-at-home married mom of two to a slay victim? Cops have their hands full right now. Detectives have their hands full. My guess is they're probably going to bring the FBI if they don't get some answers really, really soon. And one NYPD official said it's a mystery. Now it's a question of piecing together everything she did that night. The source says that during her final hours on Friday, she goes out with friends. And the source says we're pulling video and receipts from those places that she had visited. And she returned home before midnight, and a short time later, her killer arrived. The high-ranking NYPD source, he says, then around 4:30 a.m. Saturday morning, you see somebody rolling this duffel bag down the sidewalk from multiple cameras. And cops actually traced it backward from the scene to the house. And this is where he's referring to the blood trail from the bag. The source adds that Orsolya knew the people she was out with. We're talking to them. We also have to figure out, did she meet some mysterious stranger along the way? This is some of the things that they're trying to get answers to. Another law enforcement noted that, her body was found in a hockey bag, but unlike the one used by her son. A second law enforcement officer did share that note. And detectives, they didn't find any sign of a break-in at the house. They believe that the suspect knew his victim and stabbed her out of anger. Close to 60 times, you gotta be really angry with her. And that's what I mean, that's an emotional killing there. And you can see by surveillance footage of this person dragging a duffel bag across the sidewalk. And a neighbor who shares the same backyard with her, they said, I saw her Friday in her backyard. We share a common backyard with her dog. And you can see this adorable little pooch here. She loved this thing. She put so many pictures on Facebook about this dog. Saturday morning, the neighbor said, Saturday morning, we were like, why can't we hear the dog this morning? It's super shocking because they always would hear the dog. And he added, they were a normal family. And when cops first get to the home and they see the 13-year-old there, and they ask, when did you last see your mom? He stated he lives at the location, but does not know where she is. Like, he didn't know where his mom was. And that's when they took him into custody just to be interviewed, and he was later released. And, the police, they do not believe that he left the house overnight at all. And neighbors said that the 13-year-old Leo, he was scheduled to have his bar mitzvah a few weeks ago, but that the family had to cancel the event because his dad had contracted COVID-19. Now, police did say that they previously responded to a 911 call at the house after Klein reported his wife missing May 29th, 2020. And the husband later told the cops his wife had been found. And the couple's older son also went missing in July 2021, but was later found about a half an hour later. So pretty odd to have your wife go missing then found and your son go missing then found. That's a little odd on its own. Now, in a since deleted tweet from Howard Klein, the husband, he had announced his out-of-state trip with his son. And he also made a pitch for hedge funder Bill Browder's book about Vladimir Putin. And he texts, "Just landed Port Oregon before evaluating Ann Arbor again with my 17-year-old son," he wrote in his tweet. "Highly recommend Freezing Order." He tags Bill Browder, "a man I followed closely and admired since I started on Wall Street in 1997, broking EMEA and Russian equities to hedge funds like Hermitage." And the book is subtitled "A True Story of Money Laundering, Murder, and Surviving Vladimir Putin's Wrath." Now, Howard Klein, he is also the founder of RK Equity Advisor. And this is a boutique capital markets advisory firm that's focused on lithium-ion battery materials. So maybe his interests kind of line up together. What do you think about that? Why would he delete this tweet? Why would he delete that? Is there any, for his wife to be, the timing on all of this is interesting. He says, recommend Freezing Order, a book by Bill Browder. And it's subtitled "A True Story of Money Laundering, Murder, and Surviving Vladimir Putin's Wrath." That's an interesting connection, that he would also delete that later. And when it comes to like the suspected killer sending a text message to the husband, "Your whole family is next." I'm guessing we're going to find out more about this over time as well, about this text message. This is going to be an interesting turn of events is my guess. This is still the early stages in the whole thing, but so far the way this is unfolding, who done it, and this is the early stages, but little by little, the suspected person sent a text to the husband, "Your whole family is next." How did they know his text number? I don't know. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one right there. And they believe she was killed in her basement of the home, which, again, for someone to get in, she would have to know him. There you have it, my friends, the tragic case of Orsolya Gaal. And I will keep you updated as we find out more. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Make sure that you subscribe. That way you get notified whenever I upload any content, and we continue this story of the tragic case, Orsolya Gaal. Rest in peace. I'll see you later, my friends. Have a great day. Peace.